I have a saying for this, for all of our folks that we work with. We don't run reactive campaigns. People want to win. You're very competitive here. You start doing things because your opponent is doing them. That's not a plan. I tell our team, blinders up, right? We are running a race. We're going to focus on our race. We're going to drink water and we're going to mind our business. Okay. That is the only way to do this work.
I just want to brag because I don't think Rosetta said this, but she's coming off an 100% win record from her Missouri primary, y'all. So I think you listen to what Rosetta has to say because she knows she's worth her salt. She's done this. She just did this with people. So let's flip this. I don't want to focus too much on the negatives, but I'm sure we've all seen a couple ways that maybe races or staffers or candidates have gone a little bit wrong in the home stretch of the campaign. What are some of these pitfalls you've seen, and how can we help this group of folks try and avoid those to the best of our ability?
Oh man, this is. I have a saying for this, for all of our folks that we work with. We don't run reactive campaigns, and what campaigns do. Because emotions are high, time and investment is high. People want to win. You're very competitive here. You start doing things because your opponent is doing them. That's not a plan. When you made your plan, you did not write, I will do the same things that my opponent is doing, right? So if you go back to your plan and you follow your plan, you don't fall prey to that, but it's very easy to do. It's very easy to want to respond to everything, to respond on the same mediums that people are, right? Everyone can be a Twitter vigilante, right? That's a whole vibe that exists in campaign world right now. But staying focused and eyes on the prize. I tell our team, blinders up, right? We are running a race. We're going to focus on our race. We're going to drink water and we're going to mind our business. Okay. That is the only way to do this work. But not reacting and knowing your plan and knowing what's going to come next is the number one trip up that I see campaigns doing. And it can be avoided if you just invest in your plan.
Totally right. Love that. Two other things I would encourage folks to keep an eye out as well is one is burnout. Burnout for yourself, burnout for your staff, burnout for your volunteers. You want to be running hard, don't get me wrong, but you need to leave some gas left in the tank through election day, right? On the other hand of that is I don't want anyone here getting complacent or feeling like it's doomed and like it doesn't matter, right? So we want you to be running hard through the end, right? Think of it like you're a sprinter, right? You aren't stopping at the finish line, you're sprinting right through the finish line, right? So even if you think things are looking good, maybe we can chill out a bit. We can keep the pressure on. If you're thinking this is going to be really tough, what's the point anymore? Keep running till the end, continue to build your team. The one other piece too is just spend some time. It doesn't need to be you. Maybe this is volunteer or staff person. Think about what could go wrong when it matters the most. Where do we have a backup printer? What is our backup if the Wi-Fi goes down? Are we making sure we're locking our offices at night, right? What happens if some of this data gets lost, right? Just take some time to think through what are the worst things that could happen and create a quick plan B, because whatever can go wrong will go wrong, and you'll feel much better knowing what you'll do when something cruddy happens.
Ryan, I really love that idea of the pre-mortem. I think that is so thoughtful. As I reflect on this question specifically, one of the things that I often try to remind myself of is, I say the word thoughtful a lot. This is important. And I think like caring for constituents is key. And so we are working on campaigns and we're trying to get people to vote for us. And that is inherently transactional in some basic way, right? And that's okay. We should recognize that. But all that being said, when time gets tight and pressure becomes more intense, are we still holding ourselves to our values of equity, of our values, and ensuring that we're caring for folks and ensuring that we're being thoughtful around how we engage prospective voters? I'll give a quick example. And again, there's no piece of evidence that tells me this, but I've knocked a bunch of doors, so I know it's helpful. Going to the door and during GOTV, you will have a part of your script called making a plan to vote. Which is what it says, right? You're going to engage folks and ask them like, hey, you say you're going to go vote for me. What's your plan to go do? You're going to ask some very specific questions that are not yes or no. So make sure they are in their mind visualizing their path to go cast their ballot for you, whether that's through the mail or in person that day. What the things I always love to do is I want to make sure that I'm quarterbacking at all times, to use a sports analogy. And so as I'm walking to that door, preparing for that make a plan vote conversation, if I see a minivan with a child seat, or if I see toys in the yard, as a part of that conversation, am I incorporating into your script? Well, hey, if you are going to go vote in person, well, who's going to watch the kids? Or are they coming with you, right? And again, no piece of evidence tells me to say that, but again, it is thoughtful. And I know my folks, I'm talking to the door, they need to hear that because it is a part of their lives. I'm meeting them where they are. Just what we're doing, we're serving some folks in that way. And so, my takeaway here is remain thoughtful, even when it gets busy, even when conversations become really transactional. And that's going to serve you well, regardless of the outcome of your election, right? Because if you win or you lose, people are going to remember that you took care of them in that moment. Right? And consider how you're doing that. Again, don't leave folks a bad taste in their mouth. Don't make them feel used and thrown away. Remain thoughtful because, again, long-term engagement, some of these non-electoral outcomes are going to be key to building power in our own communities.
The other thing, just to add on to what Quentin was just saying, you might have heard of the role of comfort captains, which sounds kind of silly, but it speaks to the preventing burnout. It speaks to the preventing some of the transactional relationships. It also gives a ladder of engagement for volunteers who maybe that's the way that they can or want to be most involved. Sort of the grandmas of the campaign, the caretakers. It doesn't have to be an older woman, but just generally someone who's there and their job is to be like, has everyone drank water today? Here's some lunch, sort of coordinating some volunteers, or if your campaign has money to get food for people, that is a great way, as Quentin was saying, to really give people back a little bit for doing a shift, right? You're feeding them or you're giving them a little bit of care back. And that can be really powerful, and a little thing can go a long way. So comfort captains, you might hear it and be like, what the heck? Why do I need a comfort captain on my campaign? It's a very real role that you will find yourself, maybe hypothetically just curled in the corner on election day crying, and then a little intern will bring you a bagel and a coffee and everything will be bright and sunny again. And I was like, wow, I just needed food, So when things are really busy and chaotic and stressful, I didn't feel like I had 10 minutes to go feed myself. And I probably did. It didn't feel like I did. And so delegating that, because it's a very easily delegatable thing. And that's something too that has come up in a couple different places. Rosetta mentioned this of having, existing donors call their friends, or Ryanne mentioned having supporters of your primary opponent, if they've endorsed you, calling their supporters, right? There are surrogates that can be really powerful, sort of mouthpieces to other donors, to other voters. And so you lean into that delegation where you can. There are certain things that you, the campaign manager, or you, the candidate, cannot delegate. And so getting really clear in the plan of whether it's what you really want to do. My candidate once loved call time, which is kind of unheard of. So it was like, okay, fine. I will always make sure that there is call time on your calendar if that's like your bright spot of the week, So it's like there's some of that we could delegate. I know it was kind of a dream scenario. Everyone's looking at me like, your candidate loved call time. So that was something that I was, could have delegated some of, but didn't delegate fully because that made him really happy. And we all need a little bit of joy in our last few weeks of the campaign. So getting really clear on that too can really help prevent burnout and things like that there.
Hi, my name is Caljack Cade. My pronouns are they, them, and I am a political media strategist and native Texan. Go to traindemocrats.org for more political training just like this one. Thanks for watching.